Thank you.
I'm sitting in the front row of a political debate held at the Seneca Newnham campus, listening to the NDP candidate Akil Sadikali. His two major oppositions, the Liberals Jing Tan and Conservatives Joe Daniel, are sitting on either side of him. They're all vying for the same seats for the Don Valley North riding.
Labor government. So this is my answer to my
Well,
colleague.
that's because as a PhD student, you got a stipend from the government to study.
That's Akil's voice, speaking over Liberal leader Jing Tan about the rising cost of tuition. He does this numerous times throughout the debate.
Partially true. Because I have a family to support.
And you're also
I have my wife, I have my children.
That's fine.
Right?
You also get subsidized housing at U of T. There is a lot of incentives to go to graduate school, and I suggest you all look into it because it's very beneficial.
All right.
Akil is tenacious. He's a smart guy. He works in IT professionally, but has always had an interest in politics. He tells me he once did an anti-war demonstration when he was younger and studied politics while in school. After the debate, I spoke with Akil's sister Zara, and she told me she's not surprised that he's running in an election.
You know, he's quoted Maroney, Chrétien, talked about a lot of, he can quote statistics and facts, and that's because he's been kind of doing this his whole life. So it's not just, you know, the last few years that he's decided to get involved. It's not surprising at all, yeah.
Akil believes he can win his riding and make big changes in the community where he was born and raised. Listening to Akil as he debated his opponents, I could see his passion and determination. As a woman of color myself, I often wondered what it takes to run in an election. Is there more discrimination? Did Akil ever feel he couldn't make it?
It is very tough. It is very tough for a visible minority because a lot of people think that maybe you can't speak English or you might have an accent or some other issues. But we're slowly becoming part of the society and we're being accepted, and I think we're going to do very well.
Although Akil admits it can be difficult in politics being a Southeast Asian man, he says that his experience during his campaign has not been one filled with racism or discrimination.
I've only experienced positive things. People have come out to help me, have encouraged me, and have asked me to run, for example.
And despite the positive experience, he says he thinks he knows why people of color are hesitant to take the leap and run in politics.
I think the issue with race is that we don't think as a minority we can stand and be candidates. So I think part of the problem is that we are not trying as a racial minority, and it is also possible that the parties need to do a little bit more to encourage. So it's probably a two-way, it's a dilemma in both sides.
As Akil has overcome this hurdle, he says that outreach to minorities is important for the NDPs. If Akil wins his riding, he says his goal is to ensure that politics is more inclusive to youth. His ultimate goal, though, is to help those in his local riding with the infrastructure, transit, social programs, and services. But this may be difficult to achieve. Akil is falling behind in the polls. With only a week left in the campaign, Akil sits at 14% in his riding, while the Liberals have a lead of 55% and the Conservatives with 28%. The results are not looking too good, but Akil continues to campaign every week for his seat.
The previous two governments have an abysmal record in terms of the environment, and then subsequently ignored it. And the Conservative government came out and said, well, we're going to have a Made in Canada approach, and then didn't do anything. And Joe Daniels would like to take advantage of the fact that the Ontario government cut its carbon dioxide emissions because it stopped polluting using natural gas as a coal instead of coal-fired generation for our power. So that's how we've reduced our carbon dioxide, because provincial governments have taken the advantage and the steps necessary to do anything.
I'm Kristen Berkeley for CA News.